Oh, how good to be with you for Wednesday's edition of Footy Talk. And it's not just any Wednesday edition of Footy Talk. As much as we love our Wednesdays and we take you behind the scenes and into the biggest game and the biggest stories and what's going on at Clubland, but this is AFL Grand Final week, which is big enough on its own, and we've got a stack to talk about. I'm Jack Heverin. Abbey Holmes dominated on Monday night, looked absolutely glamorous on the Brownlow coverage, and has just been doing cashies at left, right and centre this week. Abs, good to see you.
Great to see you. Brownlow Medal was a lot of fun, of course, alongside Dale Thomas on the red carpet on Monday. But this week is chaos in the best kind of way, isn't it? There's news stories left, right and centre. There's so much excitement in the build-up around Melbourne and a State of Origin grand final, like New South Wales, Queensland. It's going to be massive. And from a Channel 7 perspective, we're expecting our highest rating grand final in the history of all grand finals, because you look at it, you're going to get your Victorians, you're going to get your South Australians, your West Australians watching the grand final, but you've got access to those big markets in New South Wales and Queensland, so I'm pumped.
And you are going to be front and centre of it on Saturday as well. David Zaharakis, of course, the Anzac Day hero. Have you been as busy as Abs this week, Zaka?
No. I thought this September was going to be a great time when Essendon were up there
halfway
through the year, but
he was getting out his little diary putting in.
But all my cashies disappeared. So I've had a very quiet week, and this is basically my only thing of the week. So, yeah, it's great.
You have just done a half Ironman, though.
Yeah, I did in West Sydney on Sunday. So I need a quiet week. So it's nice.
Just a half Ironman? No worries. You're a freak.
Oh, thank you, yeah.
In the best kind of way, once again.
Keep going, yeah.
Anyone ever told you look like Harry Garside?
Yeah, you did. No, thank you. Well, yeah, this haircut's getting me a few things, so it's nice.
Oh, nice. This is a very, very big week. There's a lot to talk about as well. So why don't we start with what's on the top of our brains? Let's go with our thought of the week.
All right, I'll roll in first. Thought of the week, of course, this time of year, there's lots of trade speculation and not even speculation at Port Adelaide at the moment. So yesterday, Dan Houston has told the club that he would like to be traded back to Victoria. Soldo as well, even though he's only been there 12 months or so. He's requested a trade back as well. But my thought of the week is around Dan Houston in particular, right? So the two clubs that have been reported to be top of the list, Carlton and North Melbourne. So thought of the week is, for North, how do you go about selling it? You're selling the dream, right? You're selling the fact that you're not there at the moment, but you want to be a part of something. You want to start at the bottom. You want to be a part of the rise. They've got quality kids. We know that. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about this. And, of course, Carlton, like, they're in their peak. They're in the window of opportunity right now. And Dan Houston's hungry to be a premiership player too. So you can't, I guess, judge him for wanting to go down that pathway when they are in the window right now. So it's going to be a very topical conversation with a number of players. North Melbourne are going to be very active. We know about the Jack Darling situation as well. So what is your thoughts on this from a North Melbourne perspective?
Well, first of all, never trust a player when they say they want to stay.
He only said a few weeks ago that he wasn't going anywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
This day and age, anything can happen. So we don't believe players ever anymore. You're right on that one. You're selling a future to a player. If you're North Melbourne, you're selling the possibility of success, but not that we're coming in now and we're a successful club and team now. We're building towards something. As a player, money versus success, or both, I guess, in some circumstances. So North Melbourne, they probably have more money they can spend than Carlton, not knowing the salary caps and all that stuff of both clubs. But
that would be fair.
Yeah, it'd be fair that North have more to spend. So you're probably going to get a bigger deal there, and then the potential for success. Whereas Carlton, you're probably, signing for less, but success now, and probably more of a chance of success, I guess, because they have played finals a couple of years, obviously not this year. So, they did. Yeah, they did. Sorry, I got that wrong. Sorry. Carlton playing finals this year. So you are, as a player, I'm deciding between whether you can be that piece for Carlton to drive them forward into a top four again and be successful, or whether you really want to be at a club that you're probably not going to be successful for the next couple of years, but you're a part of a team that builds towards that.
And then how important is role clarity? So Alistair Clarkson, for example, presents to Dan Houston and says, we put up our whiteboard and we see starting ruck as Tristan Sherry, starting on baller of Jai Simpkin, Luke Davies-Uniacke and you. Versus Carlton, who say, well, we've got Crips, we've got Walsh, we've got Chera, you'll kind of have to fight your way into that midfield, and you might play off half back. Like, is that a factor at all as well?
Well, it would be. As a player, you want potentially
for see personnel,
you want but you want to have what is your role going to be in that club? And a lot of clubs promise players that come in. I mean, Taylor Adams for the midfield come in, and you'll be starting mid for Sydney, and then all of a sudden you're out of the side later in the year. So for a player, it's what do you think my role is going to be? Do you trust the club that that's then what they're going to follow through with? Does he want to play half back? Does he want to play midfield? He only knows that within himself. And then where does he see him fit within a club that he knows he's going to be successful at and get the role that he wants? So as a club, you have to sell that to a player. And whether you sell the truth or whether you sell something that's a little bit along the lines of the truth, but really you plan for something else. Yeah. That's up to the other club.
You're right. You're right as well, though, about positional. Like, where does Dan Houston want to play? If he wants to play midfield, then absolutely you're probably going to be looking at North Melbourne. But if you're happy to bounce off half back with the likes of Adam Sard and Sam Doherty will be back as well next year in 2025, it's an interesting conversation. But this is something that, so looking at Dan, his girlfriend's Melbourne-based.
Yep.
He's got property in Melbourne, so it does make sense for him to want to come back.
Yep.
Watch this space on where he lands.
My choice would be...
Port Adelaide might also turn around and say, no, absolutely not. We're not facilitating it.
100%, yeah. My choice would be that you go to a club that looks like they're going to be successful the next couple of years. I mean, he's at that stage of his career where you want instant success now, and you could really help a side like Carlton off, I believe, half back. You're delivering the ball into two of the best forwards in the competition. I think that's a perfect fit for him.
And that's the thing, like Luke Parker's situation as well. He's tasted success. He's about to play in another grand final. You know, he's been linked to North Melbourne as well. So that's a different conversation because he's been there. He's experienced grand final day. If he wins another one, he might be like, you know what? All right, I'm happy to go and be a part of something and try and help this club build from the bottom and come up. But then we were talking about this off air as well. He might just turn his tune and say, hey, I could be on for another 2 or 3 years here.
Well, especially if he's played a really good role, Luke Parker, since he's come back into the team from suspension. He did a number on Alir on Friday night.
He did.
So if it's gone from being, we're not sure that there's a spot for you, to I think he might be one of the most important players on Saturday because he will do a job on someone.
Totally.
And you know that he will do that job really, really well and kick goals on the other way.
What are both your stances on being a one-club player versus 2 or 3 years at another club?
Well,
You're not,
I'm very loyal.
Yes.
I'm a loyal gal.
And she'll be at 7 till she dies as well. Along with everyone else who's signing at 7.
Yeah. Roll me out of there in my little wheelchair. Yeah, there's a bit going on at the moment.
Gee, we'll get to that shortly.
Well, my thought of the week this week, I mean, it's been very topical the last couple of days since the Brownlow on Monday night. But my angle is that I sympathise with the umpires here, that the voting system and everyone was getting cranky about certain games and players not getting votes and other players getting votes with not really having big impact. But for me, the angle is this, that I think the umpires have so much on their plate this day and age when they go out there. There's more rules now that they have to interpret out on the field. So with sling tackles, with head-high contacts, back 20, 30 years ago, the game was more just a push in the back, holding the ball, a trip, all that kind of stuff. Whereas now there's so much more grey area in AFL.
Intricate, isn't it?
It's very intricate. And with the media scrutinise the umpires every single week, we talk about them on every show, radio, TV. The umpires going out there, I think, would be thinking about all of this while they're umpiring a game. Then they've got to decide at the end of the game who they vote for. So my angle is I actually sympathise, and I think it should be taken out of their hands, not in a way that I'm angry at the umpires, but more the fact that they've got so much else on their plate that it now should be removed from the umpires. And I don't know what the solution would be. I mean, we can talk about this, but I just think that, I feel for them in this regard. I'm not angry at them, I just feel for them.
Abs, do you ever have situations where you're in a game and you're working on 7 or with Triple M and it gets to the final siren and you go, oh, if I had to do 3, 2 and 1 here, I'm not really sure how I'd go. Because once you get absorbed in your role, you're concentrating on what you're doing. If you're on the boundary or you're up in the box, you're thinking about what you have to do. And I agree with you, Zach, 100%. This game has never been harder to umpire than right now. We've spoken about that a lot this year. So they're going to come off after 4 quarters of running a half marathon and making split-second interpretational decisions.
Yeah.
And then decide 3, 2, 1 without stats?
You can't even imagine how they would feel after a game. Like mentally fried, I feel. Like it does. And you do feel for them. So we were just chatting about this as well.
Yep.
Could we suggest that there's potentially a panel that is announced at the start of the year, whether it's 10, 12 people, And they are responsible to be physically, whether it's 2 of them or 3 of them, but you've got a presence at every single game across every single round. And they do the votes because it takes everything away from the umpires, that additional stress. Maybe have access to stats as well, even though don't make it stats heavy. Yes, absolutely impact on a game. But you're right. I think that they've got so much on their plate that it might be interesting. We've got an All-Australian panel. We've got people that, vote on Norm Smith and
Rising Star
and Anzac Day medalist and those kind of things. So why wouldn't they potentially go down that angle and remove that added stress from umpires?
Yeah, I had the same thought as you. Interesting that you brought it up earlier, that the panel suggestion. I feel like the same, whether you have a panel of 10 or 12 and then each panelist has to watch 2 games with 2 other people. So it's a group of 3, watch a game, and over the weekend, the AFL...
They have to physically be at the game.
The AFL
have to be.
Organise, they fly them 2 games, or if they're in their own state, whatever it is. And the fact that they watch it as a 3, and then over the weekend you watch 2 games, whatever it is, out of the 9, or 3 games, however it works. But that, for me, seems like a better model right now than currently just the umpires focusing on everything else and then doing that, because those 3 would be purely for the Brownlow Medal, watching that game particularly. Yeah. And you're right, it's not necessarily stats heavy because you're watching it with the eye test as well as knowing what's going on.
And cherry pick them. So if you're going to get the panel, a bit like they do with the All-Australian, go out and get who are universally deemed to be the best judges in footy. Go and get Gary Lyon. Go and get Luke Hodge. Go and get Kane Corns as an example, even though he's got different opinions, but he sees the game differently.
Yeah.
Whoever you decide are the best brains in football, male, female, or whoever, go and get them and cherry pick them so that it's got a bit more sort of gravitas.
I like it.
I like it too.
Knock, knock, knock. AFL?
Yeah. Well, remember last time that you threw something up and got written off? So
I just make shit happen, guys.
Look at her go. Look at her go. Little thought of the week for me just on that. Patrick Crips winning the Brownlow. Well done to him.
Well done, Paddy.
Yes. Don't know about the 40-odd votes, but 2-time Brownlow medalist. He absolutely deserves. I've got no issue with that. My immediate thought on Monday night was, gee, this puts more pressure on Carlton to win one in the Patrick Cripps era. I don't think they can go through a generational player like that and not win one. At some point, he deserves to be a premiership player. Zachy, you talk about the fact that you haven't won one and how it burns you every day. This man, at 29 years of age, needs to finish his career with a premiership, and Carlton need to help make that happen.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And the narrative I felt started when he was about 23, 24, that when Carlton weren't successful making finals, they were talking about how this club needs to at least make finals and be successful and build a list around him, which they have done that now.
Yes.
But the next step is they do need to win a flag, or he at least needs to have the success of grand final day and experience that. And because you want to see the champions of the game playing big finals. And Patrick Dangerfield was one and got to a flag and winning a flag, and there's countless others out there, but you don't want to have him at 35 years of age without ever experiencing the grand final. As a fan, I want to see him play on the big stage and potentially win one. And as I said, you don't want to see at that age not being one, or playing in 300 games and never playing in the grand final.
Now, I'm not meant to have favourites, but I absolutely do. And one of them is Patrick Cripps, and I love Mon and Coda. They are just such a beautiful family. And he's got a crazy, crazy story, doesn't he? I think his first 150 games, not one of them was a final.
Yep.
So that's a long period of time when you are so dominant as an individual, but you're not playing in a dominant team. As you said, they've recruited well. He's now got help in the midfield. They've got such a strong spine. You know, you've got your 2 Coleman medalists up front, and then Wiedering, McGovern. Yep. You've got a really solid team here, and absolutely right. This is a guy that's now a 2-time Brownlow medalist. He needs premiership success as well. And I personally don't think that Carlton are far away. They played in a prelim last year. They had a really tough run into September this year, and they were so banged up on the injury front. But, look at even the names that are getting floated around there at the moment, like a Dan Houston. If they can inject some A-grade talent to what is already a side that's playing September footy, then they're certainly not far off in my mind. And hopefully for Paddy Cripps' sake, that's only, 12 to 24 months away.
Well, there are 16 teams, like all of us, who are going to be watching on Saturday. The 2 remaining are who we will talk about next, the Swans and the Lions in the 2024 AFL Grand Final. We break it all down next on Footy Talk. This is Footy Talk for the final time on a Wednesday. David Zaharakis, Abbey Holmes and Jack Heverin. Just before we dive into the Grand Final, Abs, Been a pretty big week at Channel 7. My goodness me.
Oh,
Talk
what
about
is
trade period.
happening? Wow.
Chris Jones looks like Stephen Wells right now.
What is happening?
I don't know. That's the thing. That's the thing. It's
We didn't tell her we were going to do
No,
this.
I'm like, you caught me off guard here. Obviously, Kane Corns, it's been announced that he'll be joining Channel 7 in 2025, which is really exciting. But there's a number
And
of...
the rest?
Yeah, well, there's a number of other names getting floated, which is exciting. I mean, I'm not obviously told anything in the lead-in. I mean, Gary might ring me the night before. He rang me the night before Bruce's announcement and then, of course, Kane's. But... you know, they've got a very clear picture of what they want 2025 to look like. We are the home of footy for a reason. And I think it's a very exciting time. And the game changed from Brownlow Medal for us. Like, you can stream the grand final on 7+ this weekend. Like, we now have digital rights as well. So the game's changing. And no doubt, you know, Jonesy, Chris Jones and Gaz are working very hard to ensure that we remain at the top of the pecking order.
You feeling safe?
Well, I hope so.
They don't make a signing without talking to Abby first. It's like when the
Channel 7.
before they go and
No.
recruit a player, they talk to the leadership group and say,
exactly.
"Do we want this player here?"
Exactly.
And Abby's part of the leadership group.
No.
You saying you get phone calls the night before. You are well and truly informed before that, I think.
Well, I love where I work and I love the people that I work with. So,
You
you
are
know,
the queen of Channel 7.
Oh,
footage.
thank
She
you.
certainly is. Just on that note, before we go to the grand final, shout out to Luke Darcy, who we all do a bit of work with. And Abs, you've worked
Love
with him a lot,
Darcy.
so have I in the last couple of years. He's going to step away. It's been announced officially, I think, by the time we go to air this morning, but it's been reported. Darcy's a wonderful person, great contributor to footy media as an expert and as a caller as well. He's got a lot of other things in his life, but I speak on behalf of a lot of people who have worked with him, and I've had the chance to call a lot with him this year. He's a really, really good person and wish him all the best with what happens
I'm
next.
very sad about this because he is, everyone's my favourite. But, you know, I love working with Luke Darcy. He's somebody that is always so kind and really welcomed me with open arms, you know, being a young female many years ago now into the industry and just always made me feel really confident and comfortable in the workplace. And I'm sad, but I'm excited for him at the same time as well because, of course, we know what his son's doing. He'll be able to sit back and just enjoy watching his young fella go about his business. He's got a million other businesses as well. I've been to Sukhavati and Bali.
Have
If you
you
have
really?
not
Oh,
been
you
to
have?
Sukhavati,
There we go.
my goodness.
There we go.
There's another Channel 7 House of Wellness.
Yeah.
somewhere.
No, but he runs a magnificent, you know, thing over there with Sukhavati. It is such a vibe, and I was lucky enough to experience that after grand final last year. So he's a magnificent person, as you said, and we'll absolutely keep in contact, but wish him all the best with what's next.
See, I told you, that's perks of the leadership group at Channel 7. You get to go to Sukhavati at the end of the year. Let's get to the grand final. Yes or no? Callum Mills, is he being picked on Thursday night when the teams drop?
Does Longmill want to take another risk? It
Nah.
hasn't worked in the past.
Nah.
I mean, we've all spoken about it this week.
I'm going to get, you guys keep talking amongst
Yeah.
yourselves.
What do you want us to do?
No, well, so I was there on Friday night. Well, no, was it Friday
Yep.
night? Yep. And Heaney and Rampy were getting chaired off 250, 200 games, and I was filming it on my phone, and I managed to catch a little glimpse, and it was Callum Mills, and he just looked shattered.
Right.
So he was cheering. He turned around, and he just looked shattered, and that broke my heart. That, to me, said, I'm not going to play. So as you just touched on with Reid in 2022, I think John Longmire, he learnt from that mistake. McDonald was the one that was left out in that instance, brought in Reid, and that unfolded terribly for them. So I have no doubt that that's a scar that John Longmire has, and he will take people into the game this weekend that are 110% ready to roll.
It's just too much of a risk with a soft tissue, I think, to take it in because I don't think it'd be the mandatory 21 days. No, it's not, is it? No, it's less than that. So, I mean, for me, coming back off, I did a couple of hamstrings just even through pre-seasons and all that. You don't really hit top speed till day 19, and then that sets you up for day 21 to be able to play on that day. So, if you are off that scheduling, you are at such a high risk to re-tear it. And if you do that in the first 5 minutes of a game, then yeah, you've cooked your team.
I might get this to Joey, our wonderful producer, but you guys tell me. So cheering. Look at his face.
Yeah, he knows.
He knows.
Yeah.
So today is D-Day. He's going to be giving it everything that he possibly has to get up for this game. But I just saw his face on Friday and I said, that's a guy that just doesn't think he's going to be there next weekend.
There's nothing like a grand final week fitness test, is there? They're stuff for legends. Some
There's
of the
one
ones that
every
have
year.
gone really
Yeah.
well and some of the ones that haven't gone
Logan
so well.
McDonald, the other one, that ankle injury from last week. Everybody expects him to play. A little bit different, of course, ankle versus soft tissue. So expect him to line up. But from a Lions perspective, shattered for Oscar McInerney. He's been such a crucial piece to their puzzle this year.
Everyone loves him.
Everyone loves him. He is the ultimate club man. If you speak to any of the Lions boys, any of the Lions staff, they love him so much. He deserves to be there. And there's always these unfortunate hard luck stories with injury, but he was a broken man last weekend.
Did you see when he was doing his interview press conference? I can't remember what couple weeks ago, whatever. And he was talking about going on interstate trips, and he said it was like school camp with players jumping in each other's rooms and playing like that. Like it was like the big dad talking about his kids going to school camp, and he loves the footy club, and the footy club loves him. And when you saw it on the weekend, and he tried to get out there, you could see the pain in his face and in his shoulder, and it's one of those shattering ones. I mean, Max Holmes was potentially going to be another one that happened. Every year this seems to happen to someone, which is the hard luck story. And he's also a crucial part to their midfield. I mean, I know I know they still won the game on the weekend, but now setting up to play this week against a good midfield, it is a difficult one for Brisbane to cover.
From what I heard as well, this is the selfless nature of the man. From what I've heard on the weekend, they literally, he basically knew from the first dislocation that he was done, right? But they went to him at halftime and said, we just need an extra 10, 15 minutes, just if you can. And he was like, absolutely. Like, I'm going to find that for you. He went out there. He did what he did. He battled hard until it popped out again. But the fact that he was willing to do that, knowing that you're putting yourself out of contention for next weekend, and it just gave them time. It gave Joe time to have another 10 minutes, spend that forward before coming in for a quarter and a half as your ruckman. So that's the selfish nature of him.
Well, completely without notice, this is where the topic comes in of, do more players than just play on grand final day deserve a medal? Now I know this is a completely different topic, right? But for him, you contribute so much to the team all year, then you're going to miss one game, and then you're never considered a premiership player if Brisbane never get back and do it. It's such a hard one for me to be able to swallow that potentially if Brisbane win on the weekend, he's never considered a premiership player.
Oh, I've always been, around the players playing, but you're right. You look at this and it is heartbreaking. So is there an I don't know, emergencies?
Yeah.
Is there an extra 3?
I just don't
ribbon?
know.
Oh, ribbon. Yeah.
I just think it's so hard that forever in the rest of our lives, you never call him one. Potentially if they don't win one again, but they have to win this weekend. But when he's contributed so much in the last 6 years and even this year, and it's like you never potentially won.
I just wonder if turning the negative into the positive here with McInerney for Brisbane is that you would think Chris Fagan's going to mention Oscar McInerney not long before the bounce.
Yeah.
Not before they run out.
Yeah.
You'd think whether his jumper's hanging in the rooms or there's something like that, he will use that as some form of motivation because how popular he is.
Absolutely.
The other positive, I wonder, is does it get Joe Danaher into the game early? Rather than sit at full forward and wait for the ball to come down, I don't think he'll take the first bounce. I think Darcy Fort will. But do they find a way to get him up and around the footy early on and get his hands on it and get him involved in the game?
Yeah, potentially. Maybe they just strike a better balance with Fort and Danaher early. Interested to see what they do there. But Darcy Fort, right? Imagine. He's played 2 games this year, hasn't played since round 7. That's a story in itself as well, that you just, right place, right time. You work hard. He's played well across the VFL season. He played in a prelim for the Lions, so he is finals ready.
I think he's played something like 35 games in 10 years, I think it was. That was the stat between Brisbane and Geelong. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, right place, right time.
Totally.
For some people, and this is your chance to take the opportunity and really own that spot on the weekend.
Right, I'm putting you on the spot. To finish off,
Let's do it.
I need a winner and a margin first from both of you.
Oh, now?
Look,
I didn't know if you were still going.
As long as one of you talks. Doesn't really matter who goes first.
All right. I thought you were going to say a Norm Smith medalist or someone. I'm going to go Brisbane by a singular point.
Yes. My heart wants Brisbane and by 8 points.
Okay. Norm Smith medalist.
Lockie Neal.
I'm going to go with Cam Rayner backing up after last week.
And what's the big story to come out of the game? Outside of the result, obviously.
Oh, big story to come out of the game.
That's a tough one. The story could be anything.
I know. Oh, my goodness. Sorry to our editor.
No, that's all right.
He's going to have to cut out this silence.
Did this deliberately. Wanted to just make
I
you
don't
think on the
know.
spot. Give us a big story out of the game.
Charlie Cameron will kick 5. Big story.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't know.
Will Ashcroft. It has to be something around Ashcroft, I reckon. Oh, but no.
I don't know.
Sorry to the
I
editor.
don't know.
Oh, well, I feel like I need to
I
give Sydney
don't have
some
a
love
clue.
because I've just gone Brisbane.
So what is the story then that John Longmire's 1-4 in grand finals?
Could be.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah. What's yours?
Yeah, no, I'm just as stumped as you because I don't want to.
Come on, Harry
negative.
Garside. Come
Well,
up with
yeah,
something.
well, you immediately go to okay, the story could be something negative, but then so my brain's just. But then I don't want to say something negative that potentially could happen, and then feel bad if it does happen. So I actually don't know.
Okay.
I was trying to think of an older. There's no older players really that might retire out of the game, that kind of thing.
Probably
So
not retire.
That's
no,
the thing. So I don't really have any outside of that.
I hope there's no injuries grand final day.
No, and that's the thing. I don't want to say that.
No,
yeah,
don't want to bring it to
something happens.
fruition.
So you've both got Brisbane winning. That's the
Yes,
that's,
Brisbane winning. Yeah.
That's the key takeaway from this. We're
Yep.
done.
But it's going to be a huge game. I cannot wait. Footy is a simple thing. Win the contest.
It's going to be a great day too. I think 22, 23.
22
hours.
and
It's
sunny.
Crap today in Melbourne, so
Perfect,
get all the
yes.
weather out of the way now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cannot
Hey,
wait.
I've loved sitting alongside you on a Wednesday and you when you've been in the studio.
Yes, thank you. It's
Oh.
been great.
It's been an absolute blast. A big thanks to some of our other players who came through the
Yep.
year, Nathan Jones and Jack Crisp and Nathan Broad.
Broady,
Just
yeah.
a couple to mention that popped by and had a chat to us across the year. It's been a whole lot of fun.
It's been great. Loved it.
Big thanks to our producer Zoe, who runs the whole thing, to Joey, who stepped in as well and just kept us in order and Zoe in order and everyone in order because
We need a bit of
needed it.
that.
We needed a
Yeah,
lot
we
out.
need
To
a bit
Eth
of
with all
that.
the digital stuff, and most importantly to the Footy Talk family who have us in their feed every single day and listen to us every single day. We love you and we appreciate you. Kate McCarthy, Dale Thomas, back tomorrow for the Thursday edition of the Grand Final, the ultimate Grand Final preview. It's been a whole lot of fun. We will see you next year
Bye.
on Footy Talk.